Hi guys, it's Phil here, winner of the Fast Bikes Ducati long-term competition, and I've had the Ducati 848 Evo for about 3 weeks now, and I thought it was about time I gave you a better look at it. So here it is, and what a beautiful bike it is as well. It gets admiration from people wherever I take it, from bikers and non-bikers alike. Everybody loves it, and so they should. It's been a really fantastic experience so far. A couple of things I just wanted to go through on the bike that I've noticed over the past few weeks and 600-700 miles or so. The bike is actually a lot more practical, certainly than I thought, and what you might think yourselves. And I just want to point a few things out that kind of make that the case. Two of those are the position in the pegs and the position in the bars. Now the pegs are quite a bit lower than you might expect for a sports bike. When I say quite a bit, we're talking about half to maybe an inch or so, and equally the bars about half an inch or an inch higher than you might typically be used to, and they do kick out a little bit to the sides as well. Don't get me wrong, this is still a sports bike, and you can still get in that sports bike crouch and have a lot of fun on the bike. But what this does mean is, with the slightly lower pegs and the slightly higher bars, is it is a lot more comfortable to ride, a lot easier to ride, particularly over distance. I've got no pain in my wrist with this bike whatsoever in all the miles I've done, and I've put in a couple of rides which are over 100 miles in one stint before I stopped. Speaking of which, you can actually do some distance on this bike in a day, not only because of the more comfortable seating position, but because of the tank range, which is another thing that surprised me. The lowest I've got out of the tank before the fuel light came on was about 90 miles. The most I've got is 132. But the thing that most surprised me about that is how much fuel you have left in the tank when you do go to fill it up. Now on average I can comfortably get 120 miles before the fuel light comes on, and every time that I've gone to the garage, which I've done straight away thinking this is an Italian sports bike, it's going to cut out on me any second, which is what I'm used to, you get to the fuel station and you've got about a third of the tank left. So what that means is, realistically, you can do about 150 miles, I'd say, on a tank before you seriously have to start looking for a petrol station. Add into that the slightly lower pegs and the slightly higher bars, and you could seriously comfortably sit on this bike for 150 miles before you need to get off, either for a rest or for some fuel, and it'll most likely be just for the fuel. One of the things that surprised me, especially riding over distance, particularly on motorways, is this screen. Now, before I tell you this, it is a low screen and it doesn't give you an all-encompassing wind protection, but with it being a low screen, I was quite concerned before I got the bike that it was going to be a problem, because I am quite a tall guy and so have double bubble screens. But this screen has surprised me. It does provide a lot more wind protection than I expected. Now, you are going to get hit with some wind, but certainly in my opinion it gave me a lot more protection than I thought it would. You can get an upgrade, and don't quote me this, but I think it's about a 25-degree angle more, which obviously will see the wind go over your head even clearer and give you more wind protection. But really I wouldn't be in a rush to go out and get that, because this screen, as small as it is, and it does give you a lot more protection than its diminutive dimensions suggest it might. There's a couple of nice little touches on this bike, mainly to do with the dashboard that I'm going to show you guys in a minute, but for now I'll leave it at that. Hi guys, so as I mentioned in the last video, here is the GP inspired dash on the Ducati 848 Evo. I'll just take you through the layout of this and a few of the different options and displays you've got on here. Don't know if you noticed when it came on there were 4 red lights on the top right hand corner of the unit. Those are the rev indicator lights. You've got 3 small ones that come on progressively as you get near to the rev limit, and then a big red one that comes on when you're imminently going to hit the limit. As you can see, it's fully digital, the dash. You've got a digital tachometer across the top, which just goes across there with black bars that light up obviously as you hit the various revs. On the left hand side there you've got the time, and just below that you've got the total mileage of the bike, and on the right hand side you've got the air temperature and the water temperature of the engine. In the middle, where it's running across with Superbike 848 Evo, that's obviously where the speed comes up there for you. On the left hand handlebar there's a little switch next to the light, the headlamps dipper, and that's labelled mode, and you can flick that up or down. If you flick it down, it just changes the total mileage to trip A, trip B, and then back round to total mileage again. You can reset either of those trips just by holding the mode button down in the position for a couple of seconds. I tend to use trip A when I've loaded up with petrol, just to see how far I've gone on that tank. What the bike will do, once you hit the reserve, which as I mentioned on the last video is quite a hefty reserve on this bike, but once you do hit the reserve light comes on, little orange light next to the red one you can see down the bottom there, and it actually brings up another menu display there labelled fuel, and that just shows you how many miles you've done since you hit the reserve. Going the other way, on the mode button, if you flick it up, it takes you through some other screens of information, so we'll just go through those now. First of those is just the battery voltage, as you can see there, and the next one, probably one of the most interesting ones, is just the rev counter. So you still get the digital tachometer going across the top, but you now also get a numerical readout, which could be really good on the track, obviously there. The next two modes are to do the lap timer, so that's turn the lap timer on or off. You start and your next lap and finish your previous lap by clicking the headlamp flasher, and then obviously you can go through all your laps that you've stored in the memory there. The next two modes are to do with DDA, so that's the data logging system you can specify on the 848, and plug your laptop in and download the information, so you can turn that on or off and erase the data that you've logged on that particular track session or your favourite ride. Next one is quite self-explanatory, just the time set, and then you just go back around the menus again. Display's really good. I wasn't sure what I'd make of it to start with, because I'm used to analog clocks, particularly with regard to the tachometer, but it's actually really clear. Whether it's shining direct sunlight or it's dark, it's always easy to read, and you know, once you get used to it, after a few miles you just glance down and you can see whatever you want to see really easily. I'm really used to it now and find it quite easy to use, particularly useful with that fuel reserve counter, and obviously the various trips that you've got there that you can just cycle through at the flick of a switch. So that's it for the Ducati 848 Evo's GP inspired digital dash. I'll get some more videos on in the next few weeks, but for now I'll say take care and see you soon.